What's going on, everybody? Welcome to RotoGrinders. We had a nice new intro there. Happy to be back. I missed the show yesterday. I was questionable on Friday night, downgraded to doubtful early Saturday morning, and out shortly after that. Did not get the midday upgrade, but back today. We'll see how it goes here with Justin and TJ. TJ, I was glad to hear one of the Spidey bombs came through. I hate that I had to miss out. I like it when the bank account balance goes up. After those, what's going on, man?
Not too much. Ready to dive into some more Spidey bombs. We'll get our first one here at 50 likes. They are 9 for their last 16 for hidden home runs. So they have been hot lately. I'm tired this morning, if I'm being honest. I woke up at 7 a.m., wrote the expert survey, went back to sleep for a couple hours. Now here we are. But I'm ready to break down this baseball slate.
And Cards, you're busy. It is it's your peak season is almost over, Justin. It's only 2 more days left.
It's pretty much over. We're pretty much through it all. So that's it's always a relief when can scale back a little bit, have a little bit more time to focus on baseball. And today's going to be a day where I don't do a whole heck of a lot. It was about 81 degrees here yesterday, and we're supposed to get 2 inches of snow this afternoon. So I don't know, climate change, man, it's wild, but it's like 40 here right now, 38 it looks like. So after 80, 38 doesn't feel all that great. So we're just gonna stay in and do absolutely nothing today. So good day to talk some baseball.
Yeah, you can maybe watch some sports or do something like that. I got to watch a little playoff basketball last night, so that was fun. I was on the Kings. That worked out well for me. But yeah, let's talk some baseball. We're gonna go till 1:10. That is the start time. So the start time is a couple minutes later than normal. Just letting all of you guys know. Let's jump right into some baseball though, Cards. First, let's Miles Mikolas, your boy in St. Louis. He's gonna be reasonably popular today. He's cheap on both sides. Maybe a little bit more so on DraftKings and Fanduel. We've got Garrett Cole. We'll get to him in a minute, but I don't know. I want to hear your reaction to the Cardinals. They're going to lose this series to the Pirates today. Is Mikolas going to stop some of these absolutely horrific performances he's been having? What do you think of him? That price on DraftKings, very appealing. I'm fading him personally. I'm playing another reasonably cheap pitcher as my SP2 to go along with Cole, but I want to hear your take on Mikolas personally.
Yeah, I don't think he's the best option. I mean, it's a slate that's loaded with pitching, right? If this was yesterday, you could maybe make a better case for Mikolas, but today I just don't see it. I mean, you've got Cole, you've got Cease, you've got Bieber, you've got Alcantara, you've got McClanahan, you've got Gallen, you've got Webb. I mean, you've got Nola. There's just so many guys today that have a lot of upside that, you really want to take a guy that even when he's on, right? Let's take the first 3 starts out. Even when he's on his game, it's not like he's striking out a lot of guys. He's, strikeout rate is 19, 20%. That's well below league average. And he's, his ERA through 3 starts is like 10.05 or something like that. So I know that's not everything, but you got a good defense playing behind you. So it's not like the defense is letting you down. It's just no ceiling with him. Like I would not play Mikolas personally today. He's out of my pool. I just think, there's other options. There's spend up options on FanDuel. You don't even really consider it because you gotta play one of the spend up guys. And in my opinion, on DraftKings, Nola's cheap enough to where you try to get Nola as your SP2. And if you're going super punty for GPPs, I'd rather take a shot on somebody with more ceiling. So yeah, I have almost no interest really in Mikolas today.
The Cardinals pessimism reigns true with Cards today. What about at the top? I mean, Garrett Cole is pretty reachable on both sites today. You've got a lot of cheap hitters, 2K, under 3K on both sites for sure, but there's legitimate 2K hitters on both sites that are in great lineup spots today. Is there any reason to not go all in on Cole, at least from, the cash game perspective and even from tournaments having him be your horse today?
Yeah, he's definitely the number one. I mean, his strikeout prop is 7.5 with juice on the over. Minnesota's got a depleted lineup. They've still got quite a few guys out, a couple guys just coming back. So to me, it's definitely Cole at the top. And this is a slate where you want to get picky. You want to go for upside because there's so many options. That's no dig against Alcantara and Webb and Manoah, as real life pitchers. But in terms of DFS, today you're chasing upside with these guys. And Cole is the guy that gives you that. If you're going a little bit cheaper, I think Nola and Gallon give you that. Like Nola's numbers are bad too, but he's still not walking anybody. He's allowing like a 388 BABIP. So he's been a little bit unlucky. And against Cincinnati, I think Nola's fine. Gallon doesn't get enough credit for his numbers facing the Marlins. I think he's probably my favorite tournament SP2 today, but and Cease as well, but that's pending weather. I'll let you touch on that. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the Chicago update in a little bit, but that was orange yellow when I looked earlier. So Cease, Gallon, those guys are in my GPP pool, but my cash game pairing today would probably be Nola and Cole.
Yeah, I don't have the latest update. It's still orange yellow. I'm sure Roth will circle back to it a little bit before lock, but I'll have to see on that one. It's orange yellow. I'll put that up here. A whole lot of rain in the general area. High-res models are keeping the worst of it out of Chicago. That said, it's still a wet, gross, windy day. He said they might try to early PPD, and if they don't, maybe they can dodge a PPD or something like that. So just keep your eye on that if there's any sort of announcement. The other one was San Francisco at Detroit. To me, it's yellow-orange. I looked at the radar. It doesn't really see too threatening. I'm okay with the Giants and Detroit. TJ, welcome to the show. Let's get some of your thoughts on the top guys. I have a very steadfast rule on Aaron Nola, and that is Aaron Nola only at home. There's a very, 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 very long history of Aaron Nola splits away being pretty bad and his home splits being absolutely terrific. I'm not on Nola today. I know the price tag is nice. I don't know if I'd fault anybody for doing that, but I'm not on Nola personally. What's your take on him? What do you take on Cole? And then where are you looking at for some of these high upside arms?
I think Nola's fine and definitely still somebody I'd want to include in my pool, but because of how many great pitchers we have today, he's not necessarily a priority. Like the only guy for me today, and to be clear, on DraftKings, I that's where I still like Nola, where he's 8.4K up on FanDuel at 9.7. I just don't let's wait till he's better. And so on DraftKings, there's just so many great pitchers that I'm with cards. Like Michaelis just X button. He doesn't even make the pool for me. If I need somebody cheap, I can go with Kyle Wright, Logan Webb, Alek Manoah, Pablo Lopez, all guys who are below 8K with so much more upside than a guy like Miles Michaelis, Zach Gallen at the 8K flat. Heck, even I'd rather play Grayson Rodriguez today going up against the White Sox as opposed to if that game is able to play. I'd rather roll with him than Miles Michaelis today. But Garrett Cole, I think, is good chalk that I'm totally fine with eating. And then guys like Alcantara, Shane Bieber, Shane McClanahan, Dylan Cease, Zach Gallen, and even those below 8K guys that I talked about, Lopez, Manoah, Webb. Just love these guys' plays today. So I'll be spreading out my pitching pool pretty evenly today.
My guy, my pairing, at least on DraftKings with Cole, I'm on Logan Webb personally. This Detroit lineup, very strikeout heavy. Webb shown some upside. There's very little resistance today for him to not have, at least 5, if not 6, 7, 8 strikeouts. As a note to that, I've taken the over 5.5 as a prop. I've laddered it on our sponsor FanDuel. If you want to check out FanDuel and you are a new user, we would greatly appreciate it. You can get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. And if you are in Massachusetts, there's a slightly different offer. Make sure to check your terms and conditions on that. But thanks to FanDuel for sponsoring the show. But I'm on Webb big time today. He's someone I really like. This Detroit lineup's pretty bad. He's flashed a little bit of upside. It doesn't really get much better than that. And he's the guy cards I'm choosing over Michaelis. Is that okay with you in terms of a cheap pitcher to use today?
Yeah, I mean, I would choose Webb over Michaelis, but I don't know, if that's a ringing endorsement because I'm not on Michaelis at all. Webb on DraftKings, I think, is okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm using him.
On FanDuel, where he's over 9K, like all these guys that are semi-cheap on DraftKings, they're all like 9. Like Pablo Lopez is 9K and Webb is 9K plus on FanDuel, where you only get one pitcher and it's just not necessary. You just don't need to. You don't need to go cheap with all the aces today. On DraftKings, I think you can make a case for Webb. Personally, and this is somewhat biased. I mean, he's a really good real life pitcher. The Detroit lineup stinks. Like he's going to do a good job at preventing runs. I don't feel quite as confident on the Ks with him, but I mean, that's just a little bit of a personal difference there. I would play, like, if I was looking for SP2 that's a little more off the radar, Gallon would be my choice, but Webb is certainly fine in cash if you don't trust Nola. And, that's where we have a slight difference today. I'm fine with Nola as my SP2. If you're uncomfortable with Nola on the road with his struggles, then, if you want somebody safe, I think Webb is fine.
That's just who I went to. I know the projections, the bat, none of that will agree with me personally, but that is a personal choice I've made today. I want to note we're 11 likes away from getting the first Spidey bomb. Definitely want to get that. The props are too good. I've got the sports books pulled up, ready to get those, get a couple more likes, and we will get that from TJ. TJ, anything else you want to talk about at pitching? We didn't even talk about Kyle Wright, who's had some shining moments, more specifically last season. Matthew Boyd can be a little bit hit or miss, but this Giants lineup has a ton of strikeouts in it. You've got Manoah against McClanahan. That's interesting. All these guys are going to come in low owned. You got a favorite dart throw?
I really like all of those guys. Like, in terms of my favorite one, I think Webb is probably going to be it in terms of the cheapies. In terms of the expensive guys, I think it would probably be Shane Bieber, just with a easy matchup going against Washington today. But I do really like the idea of just like taking lots of extra shots on three guys specifically, and it's Zach Gallen, Pablo Lopez, and Alek Manoah. Just because even though the matchups are tough for Lopez and Manoah, these are still very good pitchers. And then for Gallen, he has a bit better of a matchup, but still not picking up very much ownership.
All right. A couple likes away. Hopefully you guys can get that as we transition into some of the bats for today. And I guess Cards, the lay of the land for offense, there's a lot of good pitchers.
Yeah.
So there's not a ton of offense out there, and we're littered with very cheap hitters in the Angels game and the Cleveland game that make it very trivial to make a reasonably good lineup if you put in a couple of the cheap hitters today. What are we doing for offense as a general overview?
Yeah, I mean, it's the offense is going to be concentrated. You look at the teams that project well, anybody against Patrick Corbin. So Cleveland qualifies because they are anybody against Patrick Corbin. Philly, Sessa has really struggled in his first few starts. Atlanta's always dangerous. And then you mentioned that LA-Boston game, which had, I believe, 16 runs in that one yesterday at Fenway. Like, those teams are going to take a huge chunk of the ownership today. And that's where we're going to talk about most of the cash game plays. I think today what becomes really interesting in tournaments is the potential vomit stack idea, because we've got all these top end pitchers. And again, it's more relevant on DraftKings, but if you want to do like a Cole Cease or a Cole McClanahan build or something like that and get double stud pitchers, sometimes those really cheap stacks on a day like today can make a difference. And, it's never feels good. Obviously, that's why they're called the vomit stacks. But with so much ownership going to these small handful of offenses, you find a cheap stack that puts up 8 or 9 runs today and the double ace pairing works out, then you could be ahead of the game.
Mine would be, and side note, if I was on the show yesterday, there would have been a vomit stack. So thankfully I did not do it. I would take the Reds against Nola as my vomit stack, but those, especially on DraftKings, will be reasonably owned. And if you have my take that he's bad, I've bet some individual Cincinnati player props. But from a tournament perspective, mine would be the vomit stack. What would yours be, Cards?
I think my favorite is the Royals, and that's only because I don't want to put the White Sox first because that never works. So we've talked about that on yesterday's show, just never play the White Sox. So I think I kind of like Kansas City, the 9 total in that game. And basically on FanDuel, the entire Royals lineup is under 3K. And on DraftKings, Witt is expensive, Perez is expensive, but everyone else is fairly cheap. Kyle Wright has the potential to be really good when he's on. And I don't mind, if you're on Kyle Wright and GPPs, I get it. But sometimes when he's bad, he can be really off. So, give me the Royals and regrettably the White Sox, but don't take that advice because it never works.
All right, TJ, I want some offense from you. But first, it looks like the 50 likes have been hit. I've got
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thief.
All right, scores and odds is up. I'm looking for the best pick. What do we got?
Time for Spidey Bomb number 1. Thank you for everybody who has hit the like button. I got a sneakier and cheap one that I'm ready to unveil here when we get to how many people we got watching. It's over 200. Let's say it's a nice Sunday. Let's say when we get to 85 likes, I'll drop Spidey Bomb number 2. And this is a cheaper one as well. But the first Spidey Bomb of the day going up against Zach Greinke, who only strikes out 10% of lefties. That wind is blowing out to right field. Matt Olson is going to be taking one out of the park today.
All right, Cards, the fun game. What are the odds on Matt Olson to hit a home run today?
Let's go with 425.
We got plus 360 is the best, and that's on our sponsor FanDuel that I've been able to come across. I'm still betting it, but we're going with that one. Matt Olson home run against Greinke sounds good to me.
What do we got Patrick Wisdom at today? He always homers outside.
What is that? That's against Urias, isn't it? It's
a later game. It's not on the main
plus 185, I bet.
Probably. The Cubs scored 1 run last night, and of course it was a Wisdom homer.
On FanDuel, he's 350 on FanDuel.
Why? How?
That's ridiculous.
How does the books know that Patrick Wisdom always? That is insane.
That's on. There's got to be a better odd somewhere.
He's got worse odds than Olson to homer.
That makes no sense.
Makes no sense.
Listen to this though, Cards. Like, we got Kyle Schwarber has the best odds to hit a home run today at less than plus 200. He's at 172. Judge is 3rd. Trout is 4. They're Judge and Trout are tied for 3rd. Who has the 2nd best odds to hit a home run today?
I mean, it's got to be somebody that we don't expect.
Jose Ramirez.
That's what I was going to say, but I can't. Like, if it was Jose Ramirez, I think we're being baited because it has to be somebody we're not expecting.
The answer?
Ramirez is 340. It's not him.
Is it a Cardinals guy?
Mike Zunino.
Oh man, wouldn't have got that one. We'd have been here till 110.
Wisdom's best odds are plus 380. That's still not even. I don't understand.
That's insane.
Would not be better.
He's going to homer again, and then we'll laugh about it.
All right, let's go. Keep it in the likes. We'll get some more Spidey Bombs. We're about 20 or so away. Let's go position by position. Catcher Mike Zunino.
Yeah, I was going to say, sounds like we need to play
a pretty
Mike
good
Zunino.
option today.
Yeah, it's just play Mike Zunino. Catcher, never exciting position. Really a day where I think you unless it's part of your stack, you probably don't play one on FanDuel. I like Murphy, I like Realmuto, and Zunino obviously for the power upside, and anybody against Corbin qualifies. So, maybe today's the day Wilson Contreras gets it going, but he's looked bad. Kirk's got to face McClanahan. So not too many catchers for me today. Definitely probably off of them on FanDuel.
GPP, who's hitting a bomb today? Zunino. We know Patrick Wisdom. We need a couple more.
Apparently, Zunino is going to be based on those odds, but I don't recommend betting on it because that's just not. You never take something that's 2-1, especially not on a guy like Mike Zunino. But you can take shots on the guys like a Perez or a Melendez in tournaments. But I agree with Cards here. Realmuto is probably the top option, or if you're not going him, it's Zunino or Sean Murphy. Those are definitely the top 3 today. If you want to go super cheap with something, my vomit stack today, it's not. I don't know if it qualifies as a vomit stack because they have a decent total and they're not that bad of a team, but they're definitely priced for it. Is the Red Sox, especially the back half of the Red Sox order, and a couple guys at the start are just priced so cheap. And so if you're doing a Red Sox stack and you want to go with Connor Wong, or you want to do a little mini White Sox stack and go with Sebi Zavala just because he randomly happens to hit a home run or 2 out this year already, that's fine. But I would rather try and get up to Zunino or Murphy.
This is random, but maybe somewhat relevant. The 5th straight day the Red Sox are facing a left-handed starter. You almost never see that. It just kind of popped to me as I'm like, I've been sitting here writing up Ref Snyder every day, and I looked, it's been 5 days in a row for the Red Sox against a lefty. That means nothing, but maybe they're getting comfortable against those guys, and Devers is still hitting bombs even against lefties. So I like Boston today as well.
Let's go to first base. We know to play Matt Olson. He's going deep for sure. Cards, what else are we looking at? There's a couple ways. You got Ohtani if you want to spend up. There's a couple cheaper options. How would you be handling that first base position today?
I mean, Josh Bell, I think will be pretty popular on the cheap. Justin Turner on Fanduel is first base eligible. If you want to play one of the Giants righties against Boyd as a punt, that's more of a Fanduel play. I'd probably do that at the other positions that they're eligible at. But yeah, I mean, I think Olsen is clearly the top spend because all the other guys have somewhat tough matchups. Like even Goldschmidt, I don't feel great about today. Keller's been okay. So I think either you're playing Olsen or you're going cheap with all these options that are down here. The ones I just mentioned, Andrew Vaughn is 3K on FanDuel. So probably a position where you can actually get away with going cheap today.
Yeah, do you think on FanDuel you can mix it up a little bit? On DraftKings, is it an expensive player or is it Josh Bell for you? I've gone up to the Ohtani tier. I really like.
I was gonna say, it depends on how you feel about Bell because he's not that great anymore, but neither is the guy he's facing. So what wins out with the declining pitcher against the declining hitter? Everyone's got.
I did see. I believe it was Luch wrote him Josh Bell to hit a home run today. I think the odds were pretty good. I think I followed him in on that one too. So you got another co-signer from the Scores and Odds team with Luch on Josh Bell. TJ, lots of big names that can have some power today. Where are we going other than Matt Olson?
So yeah, Matt Olson and Ohtani are the two kind of spend up options I'd be looking at, and then obviously Josh Bell is the one that you're going with if you're looking to save some salary. Justin Turner's not somebody I would ever one off, but he's cheap enough that if I'm running a Boston stack, I don't mind getting him in there. Who is this other cheapie? Oh, and then of course Gavin Sheets is just so wildly cheap on DraftKings as well that I don't mind using him as a cheapie, but I'm going to be spending the majority of my lineups here on like Bell, Ohtani, or Olsen.
All right, going to second base. The bat really likes Brandon Lau today. I've sort of, I don't know, against Manoah. I know Manoah hasn't been great, but I don't know if I want to spend my money on a second baseman in that game. There's a couple of cheap options. You've got Arias, who is second base eligible on both sites, and 2K on FanDuel, 2,100 on DraftKings. So Cards, is he the guy to save some money to get other bats you want, or are you spending up on somebody else?
I mean, I like him, and on DraftKings you could play him at third. The problem on DraftKings, I really like Stott. The Phillies are underpriced on DraftKings, so I like the Phillies a little bit more on DK. Stott is 3,200. He's leading off today. He's got hits in like 10, 11 straight games, something like that. So Stott is my play on DK at second.
Not to cut you off, Cards, but it says in Ross Weather Report that a delay in Detroit versus San Francisco would be bad. It would greatly increase the risk of a postponement. We have a delay in San Fran and Detroit, so you might want to consider getting the Logan Webb out of your main lineup.
Let's see here. I'll take a look at the radar and see what's going on.
I don't have Webb in anything, so I'm all for the chaos.
That's
and the
screwing
PPD
me over
in that game. But yeah, so Stott is my play at second on DraftKings. Not as much conviction on FanDuel. I think you can go cheap if you want. I don't mind the spend up to like Albies or something. I'm with you on Brandon Lau. I just don't think against Manoah, probably not the day I'm spending up for him. So Jimenez for Cleveland is fine, but a little pricey. It's definitely Stott for me on DK, a little more open on FanDuel.
Yeah, it looks like the rain is probably, I don't understand why they're delaying. If anything, it looks to me like a very brief delay because the rain should get there en masse at like 3:30, 4 o'clock. So they would need to.
That's why Roth is very worried that might mean they just don't play.
Because it's cold here too. It's got to be. I mean,
there's literally like one little speck of rain on the radar right now.
There's gonna be like 10 people there.
One speck of rain right now and not much coming later. So I think that means there's a good chance that they could end up just being like, I don't know.
Yeah, if they just axe it, there's nobody here. And what's the temperature? You got the weather thing up?
It is, of course, it's 76, so it's nice there today.
It's 76 in Detroit?
Yep.
you're
the only place
38 degrees in Illinois.
You're the only place in America that's screwed in terms of temperature today, I think.
Strange. I have to look at the jet stream. Well,
20
that's
likes
bogus.
away from our next Spidey bomb, and it's also a good time to mention, like, when you're hitting the like button and you're making sure you got that notification bell going on our YouTube, go to Kevin Roth's Twitter at Kevin Roth WX and make sure you put his notifications on for baseball season as well, because they are very crucial, especially on weekends like today where he's not on the show.
All right, I've looking through some beat writers. There's a strong storm to the south. Let's see. Unclear when the game will start. All right, I think I'm going to pivot off.
They're getting
off
that
some of
same
those guys.
thing. They're getting that same thing that everywhere else is having right now, where it's 90 degrees one day and then 50 the next. Like Michael and Chad is saying, like, it's warm right now, but it's going to be winter tomorrow, and that's kind of the same thing.
So they're
that's
getting,
everybody.
Detroit's getting
That's
tomorrow.
pushing through later today.
Yeah, Detroit's 12 hours behind what we're getting. So it's coming. If you're in Detroit, you can laugh now, but not later. In any case, I mean, I wasn't on Webb, and I think there's nothing you need for offense from this game. You don't need to play Matt Boyd. I mean, you don't need to play Webb on a deep pitching slate. Like, save yourself the heartache and just pretend that game doesn't exist at this point. I think there's no reason. It's not like it's a Coors game, right?
Yeah.
Just pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pivot to maybe like a Zach Gallen, somebody like that, I think, on DraftKings from Webb, and try to figure out the rest a little bit later.
In terms of second base, I'll give my take quick here. We're 17 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 2, so hit that like button. But Gabriel Arias is without a doubt number 1 for me at 2K. Like, we got a couple people in the YouTube chat asking about him, and a couple other people saying, like, who can I play for min price on Fanduel? You play Gabriel Arias. Cleveland's the top stack today, and he's batting second for them. Bryson Stott is going to be my next favorite guy at 3.2K. I never mind like one-offing somebody like a Lau or a Torres or an India in tournaments, something like that. But like, this is for single entries and for cash games type things. It's a Stotts or a Arias thing for me. I don't mind somebody like a Yu Chang or a Carlos Arroyo in the bottom of my Boston stacks, who I'm getting to today. And then, like, if you want something super off the board, you're playing lots of lineups, or you don't want to use Arias as a one-off because he's going to be chalky and you don't have Garrett Cole in your lineup, Julian's a lefty. He's batting leadoff against Cole, and he's 2.2K on DraftKings. What is he on FanDuel? And he's 2.5K on FanDuel. He could he's hit two home runs in his limited games so far. This is a guy that could, only one, but he's gotten a bunch of hits and a bunch of extra base hits. This is a guy that could maybe outscore Arias at 1% ownership today, that's batting leadoff against Cole. So I think you could take a shot there in tournaments.
All right, let's go to third base. The play of the day is Jose Ramirez. But I don't like, you look at the plate IQ, and Cleveland versus last year, horrible versus lefties.
Yeah, they were not good.
But
it doesn't matter.
Even Jose Ramirez, not great against lefties, but none of that matters today.
Nope, it's Corbin. Doesn't matter.
All right.
Opening day starter, Patrick Corbin.
Jose Ramirez is definitely he's the play of the day to me, and you got to play him on the cash team.
Yeah, he's the guy. But I mean, Devers keeps smashing. He's 6,300 on DraftKings, so nobody's going to play him. Anytime you can get Austin Riley at discounted ownership, that's fine. Alec Boehm, if you're stacking Philly, Rendon hitting cleanup, nobody's playing him. It's Nolan Arenado's birthday, if you're into that sort of thing. I mean, there's just so many options here, but the clear spend in cash is Ramirez. Those other guys, can become stacking options or, just one-off plays for upside. But I do like Rendon a little bit. Because Whitlock can be hit or miss, and nobody ever plays the Angels outside of the big two. So,
yeah, I have Rendon on FanDuel was basically my last piece in. It was in that price range as the guy I sort of went with. TJ, if everyone's playing Jose Ramirez, and people are even going to be playing him as a one-off too, like he's going to be the most popular player, I think, wildly today. How do you handle that? How do you handle Cleveland stacks? How do you handle that whole situation?
I'm okay with Cleveland stacks today. I just kind of want to play them in lineups that I'm not playing Garrett Cole and or a second chalky pitcher. In my Cleveland stacks, that's just where I'm looking to differentiate at pitcher today. But they're in such a good spot that I'm totally fine playing them even in tournaments today. Austin Riley is a guy I really like at third base today, but Devers would be my favorite tournament one. I talked about how much I like a Boston stack. They are kind of like my favorite, somewhat contrarian and or cheap stack today. And so Rafael Devers is a great contrarian option to pair with them. Like, even if you want to play some Cleveland guys today, but then you're running a 5-man Boston stack and you roll Devers at the third base position, I think that's a great idea. Matt Chapman is another one who he gets a matchup against the lefty. Yes, that lefty is McClanahan, but he's been having such a great season. He could knock one out of the park. Alec Boehm is fine. JD Davis in a San Fran stack is fine. We haven't talked too much about San Fran, but them going up against Matt Boyd, I think stacking up their righties could be very interesting as well with somebody like VR or JD Davis here. But for the most part, for me, like this is going to be a spend up spot. If I'm not going to Ramirez with contrarian pitchers, then I want to use a chalky pitcher and go with Devers.
I found people at the stadium on Twitter. They're like, "Why is this game in a delay?" That to me it makes sense, and then it seems like they're just going to delay it and then not play the game. That's basically the only thing that makes sense to me. So I've removed that San Francisco Detroit game. Any player I was on, I would be very cautious on that at the moment. And I want to know, TJ, we are 5 likes away.
5 likes away. I need 85. I need everybody to hit this like button right now because, in fact, the next Spidey Bomb is at the shortstop position. So let's hit this like button so I can talk about it right now, people. In like Trey Turner is probably like the quote unquote best guy here, but he also is priced up. Bobby Witt on Fanduel is at 2.9K is the guy that I'd be wanting to go to in a cash game setting here if you can't get up to Turner. But 3.5 for Turner and 2.9 for Bobby Witt. They're both just so much cheaper here than they are on DraftKings that they are such strong plays as well. But we got the amount of likes, and the second Spidey Bomb is from this stack that I'm liking today, and it's Boston. Kike Hernandez, nice and cheap, batting 5th today against the lefty for Boston. He is always absolutely smashed lefties, and he's going to be knocking one out of the park as well. Let's see if we can get up to 125 likes. That's still less than half the people watching. We almost got 300 people watching right now. If we get up to 125, we got Spidey Bomb number 3. First one was Matt Olson. Second one, Kike Hernandez. They went 1 for 2 yesterday, and they are 9 for their last 16. So make sure you are tuning in because the Spidey Bomb's been hot, and hit that like button.
Cards, guess the Kike Hernandez prop.
I mean, is it out? It's probably let's go. His can't be that out. 700.
They've tightened things up since the start of the season. The books have realized more home runs.
650.
It's 520. On Caesars, it's like 380. On FanDuel, it's at, I think it's where it was is the best. It was 520. So
if you scroll through scores and odds, like it is hard to find anybody over 500 that is at all remotely reasonable.
It was nuts. Wander Franco was like plus like 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 on the days he hit home runs. It was the most ridiculous thing I've seen. And now they've tightened it up a little bit. So I think the easy home run prop bets are over. But the 520 for Rendon or for Hernandez, I'll even throw in Rendon's 520, Reif Snyder's 520. I think I'm not going to steal TJ. Of course, I'm betting TJ's, but all those guys seem pretty good to me today against Detmers.
Do a little home run parlay of Reif Snyder, Hernandez, and Olson.
Yeah, there you go. That's got to be like plus 8,000, something like that. Decent odds. All right, cards, shortstop, cash games. You've got Trey Turner if you're spending. If you're on Dre, you've got Nito. What is he? He's 2K. He's minimum price or 2,100 depending on the site you're on. That's basically how I'm playing. I'm either spending or saving.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it depends on site as well. I mean, if you're going the double spend up pitcher route, Neto at 2K leading off certainly makes sense. Bobby Witt on Fanduel makes sense. On DraftKings, where he's 5,100, and not necessarily a priority for me today. You can play Kike at short on DraftKings as well, but Turner in those Philly stacks for sure too.
All right, let's go to the outfield cards. I'll start with you. Who's your probably? You got Schwarbaum against Cecil. Looks like a pretty good play. Much cheaper on FanDuel. Absolute must on FanDuel. He's 5,800 on DraftKings. So if you're not playing Ohtani at first, you do have a little bit of a difficult decision, I think, today between Ohtani or Schwarber as your main bat. Who would you have between those two? And then some of the value plays I think we're all going to be using today.
Yeah, I mean, Ref Snyder and Oscar Gonzalez, those are guys that everyone's kind of going to be using as value plays. Schwarber, I like a little bit more on FanDuel. He's 5,800 on DraftKings. He's still fine, but I think maybe a little bit more either in Philly stacks or playing him on FanDuel. Marsh hitting 5th in that lineup today. People will play Will Brennan just because he's playing, against Corbin. But this is where you're going to see that ownership congregate on those 3, 4, 5 teams that have the high totals today.
And then TJ, how are we getting different, right? If Schwarber is going to be the highest owned outfielder for sure today, he's been having a reasonably good season. What are we doing with him? And then what else are we doing? Are there any value plays that's not Rife Snyder, not an Indian, or not a Guardian that we might want to use today?
Yeah, so obviously Schwarber is probably just the first person anywhere in your lineup in FanDuel that you're plugging into a cash game today. In terms of, I agree with all of the the main plays that we're looking at today, all the kind of optimal plays we're looking at today. If you do want to get different somewhere, I always think Jazz Chisholm at $3,100, even though I like Gallen today, going up against at leading off at 3.1K on FanDuel, that's just way too cheap for a guy like him. Byron Buxton, yes, he's going up against Cole, but this is still Byron Buxton, one of the best, especially fantasy sports hitters in baseball, only at $3,600. George Springer going up against the lefty. Cedric Mullins at 3,400 going up against Dylan Cease. Tough matchup, but it's still nice and cheap. Aaron Judge coming in at sub 10% ownership today. So there are a lot of ways that we can find high upside, expensive guys to get different with. And then if you need to find some value, I don't mind somebody like a TJ Friedel at 2.9K on FanDuel. Jorge Soler has just been beating the cover off the ball so far this season, and he's only 3K in FanDuel. There's quite a few of these guys that are in tough matchups, but they're still very good hitters who are very cheap. And I don't mind taking shots on them whatsoever. And then on DraftKings, somebody like a Brandon Marsh at 4.4K, I don't mind. But the Gonzalez, the Ref Snyders, we're not projecting them for that crazy of ownership right now. So I don't mind going there. And then if you're not playing Kike Hernandez at shortstop, I absolutely love getting to him in the outfield.
All right, I'm just trying to.
We still got 15
I'm trying to look at some radar
here. We got 15 minutes before lock here. We got a late lock. Let's get this third Spidey bomb. 125 likes. Let's get number 3 out today because we got the time.
All right, let's. I guess we'll go to Discord. We'll start taking some questions real quick. Does anyone have any sports bets anyone was interested in? I was on Webb, K's. I was on the Giants money line. I'm a little. I don't know
if Michaelis is still at 5.5 Ks, take the under on that. Dude has a 19% strikeout rate. Why does he have a 5.5 strikeout prop? I get that it's the Pirates, but I haven't looked through all the game logs. But I mean, the amount of times that he strikes out 6 batters in a game has to be 3 or 4 times a year.
Roth just tweeted about Detroit. He said, "My best guess in Detroit is that this heavy sells clears a hair east. They pull the tarp and start playing ball." Probably with uninterrupted starter pitching innings. He doesn't feel good about it, but if you made him guess, that is his guess. There is still a significant in-game delay and postpone risk.
Yeah, I'm going to bring that onto the screen for everybody. If you want to bring that up on the screen share, we can sort of take a look at Ross' tweet for everybody, give you the latest radar and everything he's looking at. But it looks like there's just this big storm, and it looks like it's going to clip just east before it fills in a little bit later. Uninterrupted starters minutes. That sounds good. on Webb. Not enough that I'm going to go back to Webb, but if anything happens to drift a little bit, that could delay, and you get the risk of a PPD when some of this other stuff backfills a couple hours later. So I don't know. I think I'm probably going to pass on playing Webb, but I guess cards. If Roth's saying uninterrupted starters innings, and I feel like the general take from the industry,
to be clear,
is
that's still a very
away.
big guess with lots
Yes.
of risk.
If that's the, I think the take is going to be no across the industry on playing this. Is this swerve your mind at all from a tournament perspective to play any of these guys? No.
What's the ceiling? Right? It's not like
the
Webb's
Giants
gonna
lineup is pretty horrific.
and it's a lefty, and so if the lefty comes out, then they're gonna pinch hit for half of these guys. And like if it was a 4 or 5 game slate, maybe, but I just can't get there. Like I think the problem that I can't get past is I think the potential risk outweighs whatever the upside might be on a big slate for both the pitchers and the bats.
TJ, you have any takes on that? Seems like a lot of questions are coming in on the YouTube about that.
No, it's kind of the same for me. Like I have, like in this first game, I'm probably there's so many great pitching options that I just kind of feel the need to I don't feel the need to go to Webb. I'm more inclined to go to somebody like a Dylan Cease in in the Baltimore and White Sox weather game, just because that one seems like they'll either postpone it before it starts or they're good.
All right, let's go to Discord. We've got some questions here. Raymond wanted to know GPP Devers or O'Reilly today.
Oh man, that's a good question.
Devers if you have other Boston players, Riley if you don't.
All right. NBA
Who would you
DFS
like as a one? So if it was just a one-off scenario, you like Riley better? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I kind of like that take. Yeah.
All right. NBA DFS wanted to know Witt or Stott FanDuel cash as your last spot.
On FanDuel, where they're the same price, just in a vacuum, I think Witt is the play. But on DraftKings, there's like $2K between them, and so give me Stott. But on FanDuel, if you're just choosing them straight up, give me Witt.
All right. This is a question I'm actually looking to struggle with right now in my own lineup. Spitty Joshua wants to know Schwarbs or Ohtani. You can only pick one. Who is it today?
I shall punt the question to TJ.
TJ?
I wasn't listening because I thought it was to cards, and Roth just tweeted again.
Oh, Schwarbs or Ohtani?
On DraftKings, Schwarber.
Yes.
I'd go Schwarber.
It's just so hard for me to say anybody over Ohtani, so that's why I punted the question. But Chicago interested here.
Chicago is likely next to hit us with a late start. The good news is that after these 2 batches of rain, it's just light showers. So I'm a bit more optimistic in a late start and play here, though the strong wind and chilly temperatures don't help. They do help starting pitching, if they happen to get in the game, though. So this is one of those ones that as long as they don't delay it, as long as they don't postpone it before that lock and it's just a delay, I'm only playing because we're on a show and I slept in. I'm not playing a bunch of lineups or anything big money today. I just made a little single entry lineup, and my current pitchers in it are currently Dylan Cease and Garrett Cole.
Yeah, I think it looks from the radar. I'm looking at it right now. Those blow past should be good. The Detroit one a little bit more concerning, but good to know on the weather front for everybody. So I'll be a little bit more optimistic on the White Sox game, be a little bit more pessimistic possibly on the San Francisco-Detroit game, even though Ross says he thinks that there'll be uninterrupted starters innings from the Detroit game. But that's not a lock in his opinion. So I just wanted to get that out there for everybody on the latest weather. All right, let's go back to Discord. Aside wants to know FanDuel cash 3v3. Let's put our hats on to pay attention. Josh Bell, Castellanos, and Rosario, or Turner, Reif Snyder, and Kiki Hernandez.
Second one for me.
Yeah, I think it's a little closer in cash. I'd probably go with the second one as well. But I think the first one is reasonably safe.
Just go full Red Sox stack. I think that one.
Yeah, I missed that it was cash when I was like, dude, the second. Yeah. That was my bad, but yeah.
Yeah, I still think I would go with the second one as well.
It's close for me, but yeah, I mean, the second one is fine.
3 likes. Let's get to, well, what'd you say, 125 or 100?
125.
Oh, wow. So that's 28 more likes. We're going to need a lot of button mashing to get that the rest of the way there.
Should
So
be easy. We got 300 people watching almost, and 10 minutes left until lock here. So
Or I mean, I want to get this extra. He is stingy. He doesn't give them out to us pre-show. He's very stingy on the likes. There's no rhyme or reason. He sticks to his guns. He needs the likes, so make sure to get him, guys.
I will compromise at 117.
Stop it. Don't soften up. Don't soften up on us.
117.
Wow.
All right, I'm going to go to YouTube for some questions. We got about 10 minutes left till lock. Let's see. I'm going to go up just a little bit and see if I can find some questions. Michael Radunchki. I probably butchered his last name. He wants to know Marsh or Castellanos in a tournament today.
I think probably Casty for me.
I would agree.
All right. Neto on DraftKings. Yes, I think Neto. I'm staring at Neto on my cash team. Does this guy, is there enough upside, TJ, at 2K for a tournament? I think he's fine in all formats today.
Yeah, you have to be pretty terrible for me to not consider you at 2K when you're leading off.
Oh, yes. Keller cards. We didn't talk about this. So if you're anti-Mikolas, are you pro Keller today?
I almost talked about Keller. So I mean, Keller, if you go back like 3 years, Keller was supposed to be like the ace, right, for the Pirates. He was the next big thing. And never really put it together for a couple of years. Well, in the first 3 games of this series, now let me back up because I have time to complain. The Cardinals got shut out by Vince Velasquez on Thursday. On Friday, Johan Oviedo, former Cardinal, had 10 Ks against them. And they lost yesterday against Roansy Contreras. So now you got to face Keller. You haven't done squat against these other gas cans that they've been throwing at you. And you look at his 3 starts. I mean, Keller had 8 Ks against Cincy, 7 Ks against Boston, 7 Ks against Houston. They won the last 2. He only gave up 3 runs total against Boston and Houston. So maybe Keller's starting to turn it around. The spring training signs were pretty positive. Maybe he's like the next Graham Ashcraft and he just starts picking up the Ks. So if you are going YOLO deep GPP play today, I don't think Keller's a terrible option. It's not that I think it's the most likely outcome, but the Cardinals aren't playing well right now. So there's definitely worse plays you can make.
All right, let's see. Back to the YouTubes. A couple more questions. Let's see. Alcantara and Cole in the same lineup. Is everyone okay with that? What are we thinking about? He got a little roughed up in his last start, but can we go back to Sandy today?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Cards?
You got a vomit stack you like, and you want to do the double spend. Yeah, I don't mind that today for sure.
Yeah, I think I can. You can always, him, Gallon, these guys can always have big games at just about any time. Let's see. Jay Sams in Discord wants to know, ownership on Cease will come under what we have due to weather concerns. And is he worth the pivot off Cole today? So, TJ, I'll throw that to you because you said you have both Cole and Cease in your main lineup today. What do you think of Cease? Do you think the weather is going to impact anything? I believe with the blessing from Roth that it would be relatively minimal impact on his ownership today. What's your thought?
Yeah, that game doesn't start for another hour here until after lock, so I definitely want to hear what Roth has to say a little closer to that game. But as far as it goes right now, I am totally fine with rolling with Dylan Cease today. He's looked very strong to start the season. I typically like the thing is like as long as this doesn't get a mid-game delay or a postponement, this weather should drastically help pitching today. It's cold, the wind's blowing in. There's a few of these guys who don't strike out, but the ones who do strike out a lot in this lineup. So I like taking shots on Dylan Cease. I feel like that cold weather, wind blowing in, should really help those fly balls just kind of turn into pop flies as opposed to home runs.
All right. Red Sox 16 wants to know, we're getting contrarian. Toronto? TJ, you're the Toronto homer in this crew we have today. Are they a contrarian take for you today? And then he also wants to know Alcantara or Mikolas for a FanDuel tournament today.
Definitely Alcantara in that situation. I don't want to target McClanahan really at all. I don't think I would want to do a Blue Jays stack. However, there are lots of very good bats on that team. And like nobody hits the ball often against McClanahan. And when they do, they're usually on the ground. And so I would much rather just like take a couple one-offs or a mini stack if you really want to go there. Like Matt Chapman would be my favorite. Springer, Bichette, and Guerrero are fine. It's just I think a pitcher like McClanahan, picking on him as a full stack, that's a little too sneaky today.
I want to note Roth seemingly just gave a slight upgrade to the Detroit game. The winds are blowing east, he says, pretty hard, blowing the storm that's threatening the delay right now out of the way. So if anyone was interested in that, Roth, I believe, has just given a slight upgrade to the probability of that game playing coming out of delay, possibly in the later innings. Could be a PPD or another delay as some more weather moves in, but a slight upgrade, I believe, from Roth in the chances of that delay that they're starting the game with clearing relatively quickly. Achilles wants to know from Discord, DraftKings single entry. This is another threefer. Pay attention. Murphy, Kiki, and Reifsnyder, or Joey Bart, Neto, and Ohtani. So are you going value across the board, mid-tier, or are you going value to get Ohtani?
Mid-tier for me. I like that first one a lot.
Cards, would you agree with that?
I don't hate the second one, but I'm not playing Joey Bart, so you'd have to find a different option there.
Yeah, not too many out there. So I think I would go with the first one personally. Yeah. I do like Ohtani quite a bit today. I think he would be my projected top hitter. Let's see. Back to YouTube. Let's see if I got any more. Don't see any other questions. We're at 110. What did you say? 117?
Yeah, I need 7 more likes.
7 more likes. We'll get Spidey Bomb number 3. I definitely want Spidey Bomb number 3. I'm clicking the like button, trying to get attention. Let's go. 7 more. We'll get another Spidey Bomb. Cards, you got any bets you were looking to make, or did you end up making today?
No, nothing on the early games here. I'll have to look at the late games later in the hoops action, but the Michaelis under K's was the only one that stood out to me when I was peeking. So,
all right, I'm on the Astros Mariners parlay. I haven't written that up on Scores and Odds yet, but I might. We'll see if I have any time later today. I mentioned that now I'm back on. I'm on the Logan Webb over 5.5 strikeouts. I think either way, I would say that one's pretty.
Well, what
good.
are the rules behind that pitcher Ks? If a game is like
varies from site to site, so
yeah, I mean, I would presume if it's only goes like 3 or 4 innings, that it basically be voided everywhere. But
yeah, I don't think that's really an option at them. I think with the Roth's latest update, unless they just want to postpone the game, I would think they're going to clear with. So
it seems like if they start, they're going to be fine because that second round of storms isn't going to be till later.
Yeah, and I would think, 7, 8 innings, something like that, especially with the way games move nowadays. I think the risk would be relatively low. So I'm back on that with the Giants money line as well. And I'm on Pete Alonso over 1.5 bases. It was plus 130, which I don't understand against a bad lefty and a horrible bullpen. So I took that one if you were looking for something that was not on Fanduel or sponsor. That was on another one. But if you shop around, I think that was still available, the plus 130 line when I started the show. So those are a couple bets I'm on today. Let's see. 115. 2 more likes, people. 2 more likes. I want this. I'm just pulling up Scores and Odds. I'm waiting for Spidey Bomb. Number 3.
I haven't hit the like button. So
click the like button. There's a lot of you. Come on.
It said 114 when I went and just
118.
did it, so.
We hit it. TJ, let's go. I want to get this in.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size. Catches thief.
JT Real Muto is going to be knocking one out of the park today, facing a pitcher who gets hits really, really hard, doesn't strike many people out, and you just got to make sure you get the ball in the air against them. Real Muto is a great line drive guy, and he's going to be knocking one out of the park today.
All right, Cards, you know I'm coming at you. Guess the JT Real Muto line, who I think he has 1 home run and hasn't really been hitting the ball too great this year.
Everybody's lower than I expect, so let's go with 350.
I got a 450, not
Okay.
on FanDuel. So
I was
I've
gonna
got
say
that in.
that's probably around what I would have said at first, but then
FanDuel is very competitive to that price, but I am always going to take the highest price, of course. So FanDuel is your only option. I think it was 420 there, but I got a 450. Good for you, TJ.
Yeah, for what it's worth, that was one that Spidey looked at scores and odds and picked good odds for a home run pick, as opposed to just a most likely one. That one was odds specific. So yeah, we like that one.
All right, the 450 looking pretty good for JT Real Muto. A couple more questions. Let's see. Achilles wants to know Neto and Acuna. This is FanDuel Cash or Stott and Turner.
Yeah, I think I don't love Stott as much on FanDuel. I think I'd go the punt and spend on FanDuel.
I agree. Getting Acuna there is just, Phillies
Acuna
and
against
Reds
Ricky
will
sounds
be
really good.
delayed due to inclement weather.
Which one's that?
Phillies and
Reds?
Reds.
That wasn't even on Roth's radar today, was
I
it?
know. That's a
That was a
140
yellow
start.
green. Rain is clearing in the early afternoon. A late start's possible. Winds left
That's
to right.
what we have.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
I wouldn't be worried too much about that one. Oh, all right, guys. My voice is about to end. So with that, I think we're going to end the show. The Spidey Bombs. TJ, recap them for everybody.
First one is Matt Olson. Second one is nice and cheap, Kike Hernandez. Let's get one more like, so then we actually hit that 125 plateau that we wanted to get anyways. And then the third one is JT Real Muto. For what it's worth, we are not quite as confident on JT Real Muto as the other two, but he does have some strong odds to hit a home run today. So his first Spidey Bomb is Matt Olson. Second one, Kike Hernandez. Number 3, JT Real Muto.
All right, that's going to do it. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Cards, good luck with your nice cold day today. I'm going to enjoy my 80-degree weather that I still have. Next, I think it cools down tomorrow here in upstate New York. And
Good.
TJ,
I'll message you then.
TJ, get some rest, and we'll see everybody again next weekend. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we out, Joe.